Today I am going to do a little book review for you, and I'm sorry if I sound a bit funny, despite the fact that I am going nowhere and seeing nowhere and doing exactly as the government are telling us to do and staying at home. I have somehow still managed to get a cold, so if the Rona doesn't get you, the common cold still will. So yeah, I just wanted to say I'm sorry if I sound a bit funny today. Hopefully I'll be gone soon. So the book I want to talk to you today about is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. It's a really gripping, suspenseful whodunit, and I read it so quickly. I think I read it in about 3 days. So I really enjoyed it. It's a real page turner. And I've done a little script for this because I don't want to give away any spoilers. There's a couple of bits where I talk about fairly major plot points, so I will do some timestamps for that in case you don't want to know those plot points before you read it. If you read it, I would really recommend reading it. So this is Lucy Foley's first book. She does have another one out which I've read as well, called The Guest List. So the premise of The Hunting Party is that these 9 friends, they get together every year for New Year's Eve. They have known each other since they were all at uni together in Oxford. So this is set over 2018-2019 New Year's Eve, so the New Year's Eve previous to the last New Year's Eve, where this year they go to Scotland, go to remote northern Scotland, to a hunting lodge for the weekend over New Year's, or for 3 days over New Year's. I'm going to say it's a weekend. In this group of friends that have known each other for a long time, there's 8 of them that have all went to uni together, they all went to Oxford together, and then there's one character who didn't go to uni with them. She is the girlfriend of one of their friends. A fairly new girlfriend in terms of their friendship, but they're still in a long-term relationship. They've been together for 3 years, so, you know, fairly new in terms of the friendship group, but not that new in terms of relationship-wise and how long they've known her. So, in this group of friends there is, so I'm going to read this off the back of the book, so this is not a spoiler. So, as you can see, it lists what they all are. So, there is the beautiful one, the golden couple, the volatile one, the new parents, the quiet one, the city boy, and the outsider. One of these is the victims, and one of these is the murderer, and that's not spoiling anything. That's not a spoiler because it literally says at the bottom there, not an accident, a murder among friends. So, not spoiling anything for you there. You can literally read it on the back of the book. So they initially believe that they're going to have this hunting lodge to themselves, apart from the live-in manager and the living groundskeeper, but it turns out there are 2 other guests there, an Icelandic couple whose story arc is quite funny. I found there's a little bit of light relief in the suspense, and they're trying to figure out all the ins and outs of this friendship group, and I'm trying to figure out which one was which out of the people listed on the back. So some of them were fairly obvious, like obviously you know who's going to be the beautiful one, and the new parents obviously have a young child. That's fairly easy to know. And the volatile one as well was quite easy, the quiet one as well. So there were just a few that it took me a minute to work out who they were. And this year the person who organised the trip is Emma, and she wants it all to be perfect because she just wants it to be perfect, as she's just really trying to prove herself. So as well as the Icelandic couple, the manager and the gameskeeper, or the groundskeeper, are also on the site of this hunting lodge over the New Year's period. And those 2 characters, they're really interesting. They've got plot points of their own and backstories of their own, which are quite interesting, because this is quite a remote place in Scotland. It's fairly far north, it's fairly remote, not that easy to get to. It's got a train station. So I find it quite interesting, their backstories, why these 2 characters have chosen to be there. What I really like about Lucy Foley in both her books, she has done, for the main characters, they've all got point of view chapters. So in something like Game of Thrones, where, you know, like Jon Snow Daenerys, Cersei, like all the major characters have point of view chapters, and Lucy Foley does the same. The main characters have point of view chapters. I really enjoyed that fact because you start to learn how they think and how their minds work, and so it kind of gives you a better understanding of each of the characters, and you know that if they've got, well, I kind of felt that in this one anyway, in the hunting party anyway, I felt that if they had a point of view chapter, then they were going to be integral and important to the story. So you know to kind of pay more attention to what they're thinking and what their take on everything is. Because obviously when you get a bunch of old friends together, there's always a bit of drama, there's always a bit of showing off, there's always a bit of reverting back to whoever you are in that group, whoever you were with them at uni. Whether you've gone on to make a huge success of your life as an adult, you still, for some reason, around old friends. You kind of always revert back into those old patterns that you had when you first met. Like family in a way. I really, really enjoyed this book. I can't stress how much I enjoyed this book and how much of a page turner it is. I've thought that I had the victim pegged fairly quickly, but then it turned out I was wrong. But the person I thought was the victim was quite integral to the story. And in a way is a victim herself, but she's not the one that gets killed. And that's not a spoiler or anything, that's just, you know, some people are victims anyway. So that's what I really enjoyed about it, that I thought that I had it pegged who the victim was. And then when I got set on one person who I was definitely 100% sure that that was the victim, I didn't change my mind again, and it turned out that they were the victim. But with the murderer, there were a few possibilities I had in mind. She kind of sets it up so you're thinking that it's going to be this one specific person, that they're going to be the one who murders, who commits the act of murder. But then it changes as the story develops, and there gets to a point where you do learn that it's going to be either one of two characters. Either they're going to be the victim or they're going to be the murderer. There's no other alternative, but you don't know who it is. You don't know which way around it's going to be until you get to the end of the book and you learn who gets killed, basically. So I thought that was really interesting that she, and I really like that fact that as well, that she, you know, put it together that you know that it's going to be either one of these two, but you can't quite call who it's going to be. If it's going to be this person is going to be the murderer or this person is going to be the murderer. Like, that was the thing that for me I found the hardest to try and pin down and peg who was the murderer and who wasn't. And that, the way it all plays out, I thought was really interesting. If you go and have a look on Goodreads, there will be some people who have some comments about the ending, but to be honest, it didn't really bother me too much. I mean, I felt like I didn't even need it to get as far as it did at the ending. I felt like I knew what had happened, who the murderer was, who got killed, and I was happy with that. Like, I would have been happy for the book to end there. I didn't need anything that came out after that. But some other people did, and some other people have opinions on it, which is fine. I love that about books and reading, is that you get so into these stories, so into these characters, and you all have your own feelings and opinions on them. So yeah, I think for me it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. It could have finished a little bit sooner than it did, but I didn't have a problem with the way it ended at all. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that the Icelandic couple had their own kind of side story going on. And there was, so you've got this murder plot going through it, and then there's this other subplot as well that's going on. And I found that I really enjoyed that, because the subplot was a little bit of comic, like, it wasn't necessarily comic relief, it wasn't that funny, but there's just a little bit of a lighter undertone to the more darker, suspenseful thing that you know that one of these people is going to end up dead. Which is a really cheery thought, but that's what you get with a whodunit. So yeah, I would really, really recommend giving this book a read. You know, we've got Christmas coming up. I don't know where you are, but I know in Surrey we're going into tier 3, so that's restaurants shutting. pub shopping, and I know a lot of the country is now in tier 3, or in the UK, or no, not the UK, in England anyway. Elsewhere in the UK they've got different rules, but we're all basically having a lockdown Christmas. So if you've got an afternoon, there's no films on the telly box, and I would definitely recommend getting to your local bookshop before they close for Christmas and supporting local bookshops. I'm really passionate about that. So if you've got a local bookshop near you that's not a Waterstone or a Smith's, I mean, supporting retail at the moment, do it, go ahead, support as much retail as you can. But if there's a local independent bookstore, go in, buy the book, buy The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley from them, have a read of it and let me know what you think. I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did.